So this is kind of a fun class, and basically it's how to write a really great offer. And what I did was I went and I've been paying attention to contracts. I see a lot of contracts being written all the time. I see what gets accepted. I see the top agents, new agents, co-broke agents that we get in, things like that. And I picked a few that I thought were good, and I think it will encourage you when you're writing offers to feel more comfortable. And if you're new at this, to get started in the right way to do things. So I am going to share my screen and start. Okay, so let's see, here we go. And I included this copy with the email. So you have this, and it's kind of step by step how to do different things. So I'm calling it writing the big, beautiful contract because anything that's kind of difficult, you want to change the phrasing. So I modeled this after a salesperson that calls everything beautiful. I thought, that's what I'm going to call this because it really is. The better you get at it, the more confident you're going to feel. Before I start writing offers, how do you feel? How many people feel, most everyone here has written offers. How many of you feel like I got this? And how many of you feel like I have anxiety every time I think about it?
Little anxiety. It's been a little bit of time since I've written one.
Yeah, mixed bag for me, depending on the client.
Good. So we're going to take away the anxiety and I'm going to show you where to find the right information. So the contract, writing the offer, it's when do you think you start setting the table for writing the offer? You know what I mean by that? So let's say you're having Thanksgiving dinner. You set the table for a Thanksgiving dinner. You have a casual dinner, you set the table for a casual dinner. So when somebody comes into your um, dining room, they know what to expect. That's setting the table. It's organizing everything from the beginning. So you start having conversations to curate the contract when you first meet them. Okay? So in the last two sessions, we did uh, your buyer value, knowing your value as a buyer agent. We did that class. And then we did a class with the buyer agreement. That was last week. And this week is the sales contract, but it's not about writing the sales contract, it's about the tricks. Next week we'll get into more zip forms and so you feel comfortable and confident with zip forms. So just a recap. You completed the beautiful buyer meeting experience. So that was last week. It's like when you first meet them, you have everything done. And that was built on the week before, which was your value. Like we don't just open doors, right? As a buyer agent, to get someone to sign an exclusive right to represent, we have to show that we are worth it. And my advice in this market that we're in right now is that you make appointments at people's houses. People don't want to meet us before they go see a house, right? They're always too busy, life is too stressful, too much is going on. So if you make an appointment to meet them at their house, they'll get used to you coming to their house. And what happens when you sit down and you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee with someone, it's like you've arrived. You're part of the family. This is it. Okay, so never refuse glass of water, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, iced tea, whatever it is, because it helps ingratiate you with them. And plus we really do care about people and we're broadening our circle of influence. So the more we get to know people, the more we will get referrals from them for our friends and family. So every opportunity to go to someone's house and meet with them is a gift, and you will get something for it. A lot of times people don't want to do that. Why? Especially if you're part-time. You're busy. So why wouldn't you want to go to someone's house to sign a buyer agreement before you show a house? I mean, it'd be much easier just to meet them at the property, have them sign it on the hood of your car, and then go in. But what happens when you do that? You're covering the minimal basic requirement. You're not connecting with them. So you're doing you're doing your due diligence, you're telling, you're not selling, and you're doing just enough to get what you want. But if you meet someone at their house, it's a completely different ball game. Now you know the dog's name, the cat's name. Maybe you even got fleas from going there. Maybe they smoke and you want to take a shower before you go home. But you're getting to know them where they are comfortable. So I would just say to really do well with the buyer agreement and then the buyer contract, it starts with a conversation. So here's what we're going to talk about, what we've done so far in this scenario. We had a meeting with them that I just described. We gave them a list of closed properties over the last 1, 2, or 3 months, depending on how many houses sold in whatever town they're looking in, so they can get an idea of the list price and the sale price. So they can get used to the fact of what the market is like and they know what they need to offer. You gave them a closing cost sheet so they have an idea what their closing costs. A buyer flow chart. So you step by step, this is what we do. We look at houses, we get pre-approved, and they have it in writing to follow along, not just you telling quickly on the hood of the car before you walk in. So it's important to really connect with people. And then over and above, going the extra mile, a vendor list with attorneys or title companies or a list of and their contact information. So maybe I'll give them 3 real estate attorneys that I like and respect. And I'll give them our mortgage company and maybe a couple other ones. A home inspector list, people that I trust. Homeowners insurance companies, like 3 insurance companies, especially on the shoreline, you have all kinds of things that can be happening there, and you want to have good insurance. Some people can't get insurance on a house
Yeah.
because the house has been had too many claims, or they, as a person, have had too many claims in their life. So you have something uh, called a clue report, which tells you what your insurance score is and what the house you're buying insurance score. And you can get an insurance person to give you that information once you find a house. But to start with, they should call a couple insurance companies and get familiar with that. And then any other tips you can give while you're showing properties, the disclosures. When you're giving disclosures, talk about things like wetlands, flood zones, the how long the people have owned the house. They bought this house in 1999 and they paid, 300,000 and they took out a mortgage of the full amount, 300,000. So you're giving them like an inside look into what's happening and all the disclosures. Next, we're going to share what's happening in the marketplace. And we're used to doing it at this point. So how many houses are on the market? Active deposit closed. Days on the market, list to sale ratio, assessed to sale ratio, price per square foot, things like that. Not everything, but whatever we think might help them make the best offer. So as you talk to them, you can share different statistics. And this is one of my favorite ones. So in the Connecticut MLS, we have this market activity. And when I did this Sunday, there were only 127 active listings in the entire state, and then 89 new to the market listings as of Sunday. That made me pause. So, what would that mean for a buyer? With that little, I mean, 127 is nothing. Southington used to have like 170 on average active listings. Uh, Stanford, 300. This is the entire state, 127. So what does that make you think?
Entire state, all brokers.
Yes,
Oh my God. Yeah, you know what? I looked at it the other day and I thought that was kind of low, but wow.
it is crazy. So
Wow.
you want to tell them that. I'm going to tell you right now. Now today there's 160 something. So it's going up, but and that's one day, Monday. But that, to be able to connect the dots for them, to talk about it, like, you're not going to believe this. There's only 127 houses on the market. And if you go to their house and you bring your computer with you, you can show them this stuff too. That's the other nice thing about going to their house. Because, hey, can I get your Wi-Fi? Uh, that kind of thing. And just show them a few things. Not everything, but a few things, because we just want them to be curious. And then the other thing, 63 are under contract. So the idea is if they have any sense at all, they now know there's not a lot of houses to look at, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of buyers, and we know that, and there's a lot of backed up uh, people that want to buy. Okay, so that's good. Now in Florida, is anybody on this call from Florida? Otherwise, I won't talk about it. I don't think anybody is. I don't know who 12396
I
is.
am from Florida, but
Oh, good.
I just signed yesterday, so I'm just like brand new. I'm just listening.
Congratulations. And what's your name?
Courtney,
Courtney, welcome. I'm so
thank
glad you
you.
came. Okay. Which office are you out of?
Um, All Points Realty
In
with
what town?
JJ. Oh, Fort
Oh,
Myers.
Fort Myers. I
Yes.
love JJ. Okay. So I have this is Naples. And you have a lot of active listings. So we're not going to talk about active listings because active listings will not help you get the lay of the land with your buyer when it comes time to write an offer because you're in a buyer's market, which is fantastic. So when you're in a buyer's market, it's the opposite of a seller's market. So you might say things like, you know what we can do when they find the house they really love? Look at there are actually quite a few homes on the market. This is showing us the number of active listings through Matrix in Naples. And look at that, 2000. Well, this 2026. So I don't really understand how this can be um, here like this because we are not in December of 2026. So I'm only going to judge the first 3 months, which is January, February, and March. But look at this, 2,626 active listings in Naples. Last year there were 3,000, and the year before there were 2,400. So we're still over 2024, but we're less than 2025. So that's good. So there is a lot to choose from. And because there's a lot to choose from, the listings are the ones that are in competition with each other, which is a fun place to be for a buyer. Okay. And the next thing in Naples is the list to sale price ratio. So the list to sale price ratio we're going to look at for both areas, but in Naples, you can see people are not going over asking for the most part. 96.3% of the value is what they're offering. So why would that be a nice thing to share? Anybody want to share?
Well,
So you're not, go ahead.
it's helpful putting together an offer because if the list price is 350 and the closings where they're coming in less, then if they wanted to start low, maybe put an escalation clause on. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the Florida market, but if
Yeah.
somebody they
So
can go up,
like here in Connecticut, it would be 104,000, 104% over. This
right,
is 104% under. So
right.
96.3 is like, you know, 4%, a little less than 4% under asking. So if I had um, a property and it was $1 million, what would 4% less be?
960.
40,000.
40,000, right? 40,000. So,
Mhm.
what's nice is when you actually say it. Right now you're in this price range and you're looking at houses around 500,000. So that means that 4% less would be about 20,000 to start. That's average. So the average listing is taking a $20,000 hit. All right. And then I'm looking at number of sales. So the number of sales this year, and it says it down here. So I'm in Matrix, just so you know. And Matrix has stats here. And when you put in what you want to go after. So I went from 2024 to 2026, starting January, ending December. First statistic is days on market. Okay, and it's sorted by month. So these are the days on market. So we're seeing the average days on the market in January is 140, February is 141, and March is 160. And last year it was a little bit less. So if I'm in Fort Myers, or well, actually, this is Naples. So if I'm in Naples, guess what I'm going to do? Be very happy when I see things that have been on the market a while. Why?
Because they're gonna sell because they want to drop the price.
Yeah, they're getting nervous. They really do want to sell. And the longer it's on the market, the more they'll probably take an offer, as long as they can take an offer. And they might do more than take an offer. They might pay the buyer's closing costs. There's all kinds of things you could write in there to negotiate. So you're getting your buyer the best deal. Okay. So Connecticut, it's all about the seller is God and we have to do whatever they want. And in Florida, the buyer is. It's reversed. So I used an example here of a house in Meriden that somebody put an offer in over the weekend. And I was helping them write the offer. And it's new to the market. It doesn't, when you see the inside, it's a flip house. They bought it for more than 100,000 less in January. And so, they're probably looking for a cash buyer. The appraisal might be a problem. You never know. So there are some drawbacks here with this house, but they love it. They looked at everything in their price range in 5 different towns, and this was the one. So this is the one. So now we want to make sure that one, we write an offer that will get accepted, and two, we don't try to overpay because we're going to be cash. So you have to
Right.
be careful. Okay. So these are the kinds of conversations that we're having with our clients. So when you are making an offer, there's a program that everyone has in all the offices that we have called Showing Time, and it's through your MLS. And this has a report called Showing Time Target Market Analysis. And you can do a search and see how many showings there are on a house. Now, for Florida, it doesn't really matter. For Connecticut, it matters. At Florida, it might matter once in a while, but you're going to find with that many houses on the market that we saw, there's probably 50 homes in the price range that we're searching in. In this town, there's two. So I'm going to pull this report. I'm going into the MLS. I'm going into showing time, going to reports, and I'm picking the target market analysis report. Then I want to make sure that I know what I'm seeing when I pull that report. So if there were no houses for 325, then that report would make no sense when it says zero showings. But I know that there are two. So I did a search of what's on the market. So new and active. It from 300,000 to 350,000. These are all the houses, all of them. So when I pull the report in showing time that shows me, which I'm going to show you how to do it, uh, there are two houses for 325 and there's one for 329.9. And I'll show you why that's important. So I'm in the showing time and I am putting in my criteria, 300 to 350. The town is Meriden, and then increments of 5,000. And then I only want to go back 5 days because this has only been on the market like three. So I went from 316 to 321, yesterday's date, and I then could see how many showings there were. And there were 10. So there's basically three houses, two are the exact same price.
Wow.
So 10 listings isn't that much. And that kind of makes me hopeful that we don't have to go way over asking. Because what's happening in this market is we are seeing a lot of houses selling for, 50,000 over and more. But we don't want to just say you have to come in 50,000 over asking. We want to know what we're talking about. And this actually gives us that power to do that. So do you think your buyer would like to know about this report? You can actually email it to them once you pull it up. Yes. So the question, because they're, what should we offer? What should we offer? And we can give them the averages, but what we can't give them is what the competition is. Now, what this doesn't take into consideration is uh, open houses. So if they just had an open house and 50 people came through and you brought your people at the same time, they already know what they're up against, right?
Right.
So just keep that in mind. Like these are the lay of the land. These are the conversations we want to have with our buyers as we are showing houses and getting them ready to make an offer. Okay, so
Jody,
next,
I'm sorry, I have a
yes,
question. In the
good.
showing part, so the number 10 is there is 10 houses listing to that price, or there is 10 houses is being shown in that price range.
So let me show you. I'm gonna just go back to here. These are the houses in Meriden between 300,000 and 350. So we did increments of 5,000, which starts at 325 and goes up to 329.9. So there are actually three houses in that price range that will show up in the showing time report. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why I want to find out first how many houses are on the market. Otherwise, I would assume that every one of these people were looking at that house. But if there were 10 people and they all looked at all three houses, that would be 30 showings, not 10. Okay? So we want to know how many people. This is calculating the number of showings only, not the number of people. It could be, one person went in twice, but we have three listings in that price range, and in the last 5 days, 10 people looked at those houses.
It's amazing.
Okay. All right.
Got it.
So now in the MLS, I'm thinking, okay, now I know 10 people. Now let's look at what we should offer. So what we should offer has to do with the list price versus the sale price. Okay. And depending on the town, when I first went in, I went back 90 days and there were way too many houses. Then I went back 60, there were still too many. So I went back 30. So Meriden is a happening town. A lot of houses are being sold there. And I went back so I could just give them some good advice that's timely. So I only went back 30 days because we're in a fluctuating market with that what makes it fluctuate right now. So what makes it fluctuate? Weather, politics, the price of everything we use. A lot of things make things fluctuate. Just the attitude, like, oh, good, I'm going to have a job, or oh no, I might get laid off. Those kind of things are what makes the market fluctuate. So giving people hope is your superpower. That is the magic. Oh yeah. Well, actually it's not. It's all I always say, well, it's not really bad. I show the bad, but I show the good. And I make it like it's every day. It's not, nothing is alarming. Because you want them to make an offer that is going to be the best offer, but not no offer. So if they get too afraid, they're just going to back out and not go forward. So I'm looking for the last month of houses that have sold in Meriden. And when I look at that, in that price range, here are the houses from 300 to, oops, I'm over here, list price. Oh, over here, list price. So from 295 or 300 to 350 in the last month, there were six closings. So that gives me some good data to share with them because it's the price range and the town. And we can see one went for 295. What did it sell for? Can you guys see this? It's hard to see, isn't it? Maybe I can make it bigger.
Yeah, no, it went to 295 to 290.
Good. So they actually took less. Now, I would not have thought of that, but that's 2% less. It sold for 98% of the asking price. And the other thing we can see on this is the average days on market, days on market, days on market, days on market. So down here is the average days on market. It's 23. Oh, here we go. Close date. So it doesn't show us the days on the market in this thing, and that might be something you're going to want to share with them. Can anybody else see that? Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I don't see it. Okay. So, but that's good, 98%. Then this one sold for 1% more, 299 to 304. This one sold from 325 to 330, 2% more, 329 to 330. That's flat. 339 to 368, 8% more. Okay. So sometimes the average is here. The average list to sale price ratio is 1% over asking. Now, some towns that's going to be 5%. Some towns it's 98%. So you want to know what's normal and then you know what to expect. Make sense?
Mhm.
And honestly, they found the house that they love and they want to move forward. You're just giving them some ammo. One, the truth, and two, to make them hopeful. So when I look at this, am I going to tell them to come in 50,000 over asking? No. Am I going to be afraid to have them do a home inspection? I don't think so, because we're only going up 1%. And this particular person was ready to do an escalation clause up to 350.
Wow.
So they did an escalation clause and they did a well, I'll show you. I'll show you in a minute. So that's what's so neat when you start digging in and seeing what's happening, then you can give really good advice because every town is different. So contracts, talk about contracts and how we write them because we're going to show you how to write these clauses. So, first of all, when you have a contract, for it to be valid, you have to have a price. You have to have terms. You have to have a date to close. The mortgage has to be spelled out according to the contract. Greater Hartford Board, New Haven Board, you have to say what kind of financing. CHFA, FHA, conventional, time to own. It has to be spelled out. In the MLS contracts that Fairfield County uses, they don't spell it out. They just say third party financing. So if you're the listing agent, you're going to probably want their pre-approval letter so you can see what kind of mortgage they're getting, right? But most of the time, you do have to get that mortgage type in there to make it legal. And then you have to say if they don't get the mortgage, what happens? And the reason I'm telling you all this is because when we do clauses and we do addendums, we have to have a start date, a end date, a what happens if it doesn't, excuse me, that kind of thing in the clause. So you just something to think about. Other things, cash. They're buying it cash. When they buy something cash, what do they have to worry about? They have to worry about, well, what if they're overpaying? Do they want to have an appraisal writer? Do they want to do an inspection? And not just home inspection, termite, lead, um, radon, all the inspections, including well and septic, if it's not city water, city sewer. Appraisal writer, escalation clause or addendum, and then the appraisal gap clause. Did I put here? I didn't put appraisal writer. There's also appraisal gap. And then homeowners insurance. So it's really important if you're in a state that uses lawyers to close, that you get them hooked up with a lawyer right away. Because when you start getting into clauses, you want to have somebody looking over what you're doing.
Yeah, my smart buyers have asked me to send the, the offer to the lawyer right away.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would too. I always feel
yeah,
better as an agent to do that too.
yeah.
We have a lot of fail safes here because we have transaction managers that look things over. And honestly, I am go, go, go. Sometimes I'm helping an agent write an offer at night. And I don't even try to do it after 8:30 because I will make mistakes myself.
So do you
Uh,
sleep?
what?
Do you sleep? I'm being flip.
Yeah,
Do you sleep?
I go to sleep at 8:30. That's why I'm not helping you after 8:30. So if you need my help, you call me at 8. Right, Ahmed? So, um, that's the idea here. There's all of these cool tools that we can use to help them get an offer that makes sense for them. And they're hearing about this. They're hearing about these things from friends and family and ChatGPT and Googling it. So you want to make this part of your arsenal. You want to know these things. And then you'll feel like, ah, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. So let's look at the first one. Escalation clause. So the nice thing about the escalation clause, what does that mean? That means that we're putting an offer in. We know we probably have other people that are also putting an offer in. So what does the escalation clause do? The escalation clause is like, so in this case, the person buying the house, um, it's listed for 325, and they said they would go up to 350. But they don't want to go right up to 350. They want to go up higher if somebody else is also writing an offer. So let's just read it. Buyers hereby to agree to increase their offer by X amount over the highest offer. Now, a lot of agents don't like escalation clauses. They feel like it's cheating. Tell me what it's worth, and then we will tell me what you're willing to pay, and that's it. We don't want an escalation clause. But a lot of agents use this, so you should know how to do it. So, highest offer received, notwithstanding any seller concessions. So, my recommendation of increase is $5,000. So if you want to do it seriously. So it makes a difference. It's not just $500. It's not just $1,000. $5,000 is a lot of money. But if you are in the corporate world getting bonuses, your bonus every year is probably 50,000 at least. So this, it's not a lot. So think of it like that. 5,000 isn't a lot, but it's substantial enough to get the seller's attention. So increase your offer by $5,000 over the highest offer received, notwithstanding any seller concessions. So they have to give us proof by having a real contract that was signed by a buyer without seller concessions. Okay? No money back, that kind of thing. No, we want a new deck. A lot of people write that stuff into the contract. Um, by sellers from any other buyers, but not to exceed a maximum offer of, and she was willing to go to 350. So 350. In her mind, because she actually went to the open house, and I'm looking at, a decent amount of uh, people looking at the house. So in her mind, rightly so, she thought she was in a multi-offer situation. And the agent said, well, we're going to be doing highest and best. But they didn't give a time. So it was a new to the market. So what does that tell you? They didn't give, I want it by Sunday at 5. I want it by Tuesday at 3. They didn't give a time. So that means they don't have any other offers. Because otherwise they would say, we have multiple offers. We are looking for highest and best.
Right,
And, then right?
right.
Am I going too fast? Are you guys with me? Danny, do you understand this? Danny's my honest person in the room.
I'm getting it.
Okay. Okay. So, not to exceed 350, seller shall provide buyer's agent with satisfactory proof of such competing offers. And this is a escalation addendum that basically says the same thing. Between this party, that party, price automatically increased by 5,000, and not to exceed a maximum of 350. And then the purchaser, yes or no, understands what they're signing. So they must have to put that. Somebody didn't understand. And then the rest is filled out by the seller, and now the seller is accepting the offer. So that's basically what that is. And he's saying what the other contract sale price is and net is. So they have that information to validate. So that is the escalation clause. Then we have the appraisal gap. So I don't know why this is not. Hold on a minute. I am going. to stop sharing and share my screen because the whole thing is not lining up. There's something wrong with this settings here. Okay, I'm going to share again. Okay. So this is the appraisal clause, and this is not the gap. This is the appraisal clause. So offer is contingent on the appraised value being equal to or greater than the contract price. If appraised value is less than contract price, buyer, oh, this is a gap. Buyer will have the option of proceeding with the closing at the contract price, renegotiating the contract with the seller, or voiding the contract and receiving the return of all earnest money, uh, less costs incurred. So this would be an appraisal clause for anything. It could be, I could have a loan, I could have cash. I just am going to hire an appraiser and they are going to, I'm not going to buy it for less than the appraised value, but I could buy it for, put the money in, or I could negotiate. And the next one, wait a minute, did I miss one? Okay. And that this says the same thing, the appraisal rider. So this one is used with a mortgage and the other one to be used without a mortgage. So this would be cash. And it just gives a breakdown of the three things that we just said. One, two, three, more spelled out. So it's an addendum. Now I am going to log into Zip Forms and show you how to do this. All right. And if you would like to log in too, then it might make more sense if you want to follow along with me. So I'm logging into Zip Forms. I have an offer with Bob Buyer here. Okay, so Bob, we did the buyer agreement last week, and the buyer agreement is this, 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 and this. And then we have the sales contract, which is this. We have our commission. We have, what else do we have? The, if I wanted to waive the, totally waive the home inspection, this is the waiver. Where is it? Waiver of home inspection. Here it is. So all of your documents are here. When you're writing an offer, you also are going to add the disclosures. And I am just going to do that and then open it in Forms Editor. And if I had the buyer and the seller information here, it would all autofill. I'm not going to show you how to write the offer, but this is where it is. And this other conditions, I already did it once, so let me just delete all this. This other conditions is where you put in the clauses. And if it spills over the box, it creates an addendum to go with it. So you can put as much here as you want, and it will automatically overflow into the disclosure, another page. So other conditions. So I want to do the writer. Hold on. People always try to come in at odd times. I don't know where they went. Okay. Huh. All right. So I put my cursor here. I go over to, so in zip forms, you can see that you have three columns. One, two, three. The first one are all the documents, and the documents are what I pulled in from Working Docs. So I just selected what I wanted, then I went to write the offer, and they all came over. So here they are. As I scroll down, I'll see each one of these here. The clauses are over here to the far right. And when I click on clause, then I have global and office. So most of the clauses we use are in global. So transaction management set this up. Okay, so we have the appraisal gap and the escalation clause. So those are the two I'm going to add. So, and then this up here, both buyers and sellers. This has to do with when both parties are paying the commission. And that's something we use a lot too, because maybe the seller is only willing to pay 2.5% and the buyer's willing to pay the extra 0.5%. This is where you put it and you put it here. So but I'm not going to do it right now. I will show you. So go back, all clauses, global. Okay. So we'll start with the escalation clause. And I highlight this and then I drag it over here into other conditions. And I just type in what I want to say. So we're going to go 5,000 over. Come on. 5,000 over the highest offer. Not to exceed 350,000. Okay, and seller shall provide buyer's agent with satisfactory proof of such competing offers. Okay, and next, I'm going to add, back to global clauses, the escalation clause. So I click on escalation clause and drag that over. Okay. So the escalation clause says buyers hereby agree to increase their offer. We already did the escalation clause. I'm doing the appraisal gap. Sorry. Global appraisal gap. Okay. So there are some things to consider with the appraisal gap. And we will, oops, read this too. Okay, so the escalation clause says, in the event the buyer's mortgage lender appraisal of the property is an amount less than the purchase price, the buyer can contribute up to, and we're going to see an actual copy of one of these. So up to, we'll say $20,000 because, or $25,000 because that's the difference between 325 and 350.
Right.
But they could do it for less. All right. Of up to $25,000 at closing to bridge the gap between the appraisal price and the purchase price, not to exceed the purchase price of 350. Okay, so Um, where it gets tricky is if your people have the cash or if they don't have the cash. So there is an addendum you can use that spells out how they're going to bridge that gap. And when you think of an appraisal gap, a lot of times buyers are putting down 20% to 50%, and they're getting a mortgage. So if you're putting down 20% and you qualify for putting down 10%, you can take, excuse me, 10% and go for a 10% down instead of a 20% down. And that's how you can bridge the gap. So ideally, you want to spell out how you're going to bridge that gap. Okay, and the addendum does that. You guys with me?
Yep.
So then the last,
So one question on that, because
okay.
I've had one customer, one client say to me, well, if I bridge a gap, why it seems like I'm paying more than what the house is worth. And my answer usually is, well, with homes, there's usually appreciation. It's almost like they're buying into what is normal, and with real estate, that there's appreciation. How do you explain that to people that don't really understand that?
So people conveniently don't understand things. First of all, that's the truth because they really do understand. That's why they're asking the question. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. That's basically what it is. Can you wave a magic wand? So it's kind of like the blame game. So that's part of sales technique. So for me personally, I just hit it head on and I go, yeah, you could be overpaying.
Yep.
But in this market, everyone's overpaying. And that's part of the problem with the market. So what you really have to ask yourself is which house do you want to overpay on? Is
And
this the one you love?
yep. That,
Would you be regretful if you couldn't have this? Because let's remember, what is the average bonus in corporate companies? Okay? It's probably more than the appraisal gap.
right.
It's not a big deal. So we don't get to take the whole family to Disney World this year and Barbados too. We're going to have to just pick one vacation. So
Right.
people have more money than you think, and you can't feel like this is going to be hard for them. It's not hard for them. They have the money. They can find the money. They have family. There are ways. And most of the time, they really want the house. They really want that house and they want to win the offer. So it's
Right.
just a matter of having that conversation with them. And don't be afraid to say, yeah, you're right. You could be overpaying, but everybody's overpaying right now.
That was my 90% of the time. That's my answer.
I know, but if you didn't meet with them to sign the buyer agreement and have the value conversation, which I know you would never do, the fact is you can't just meet them at the house and have them sign the paper on the hood of your car.
Right.
You have to connect with them, go to their house, get to know them, talk about the market, give them good statistics so they feel like they can ask you questions and you'll give them a good answer. And you don't have to know everything ahead of time. You learn by doing. I never did any of these things when I was brand new. I was ready to cry at any moment. I was 24 years old, and the rates just went to 18% when I got my license. But I still sold houses. I was really excited. And I think people felt sorry for me. And that's probably why I sold houses. So, people are human, and that's what this business is all about. Just, getting to know them. Go to their house. Don't be afraid. Be yourself. Be comfortable in your own skin. Okay.
Thank
And you
you.
know what? If they don't like you, too bad. They don't have to, you don't have to work with people that like you.
Right.
That you have to work with people that will come to respect you.
Correct.
The people that I did not like and really got under my skin gave me referrals. And I was always in shock, like you treated me like that. And now you're giving me your best friend because I think they think, oh, she really could take it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I can take it because I have four brothers.
yeah.
Okay. So the last one is actually, those are the two. And then this is the commission. And I'm going to put that on a different page. The commission being paid by both parties because you deserve your commission. So don't forget to do this, okay? So that is the appraisal gap. We could also download the document. And these documents are in Florida, they're in Connecticut. So where are the documents? So we have the three columns here, forms. So I am going to, actually, I'm going to show you because I have copies of it. So I'm not going to, this is where you add forms. Okay. And you click add and from libraries. And then, whoops, hold on. Add from li form libraries. And then here are all libraries, or you can go to where you are. So you actually won't see all of these libraries, but like here's Greater Hartford Board of Realtors. The Century 21 AllPoints Realty also has them, and they can be used for more than just us. So one is the affiliated, nope, not that one. Where is it? Escalation addendum. So here's the escalation addendum, and I already put it in the contract, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, and that tells you the 5,000, all of that. And then I think that is it. Florida has a really good one for the concessions. The not the escalation, the other one. The appraisal gap. Connecticut doesn't have a good addendum for the appraisal gap. All right, so then the rest is all filled in, and let me just go to the commission. So this is where the commission is. So we're saying 3%, and now the seller says they're only going to pay 2.5. So we can change this to 2.5. And then down here, we are going to add another clause. And that is in global. Both buyer and seller are paying the commission. And we bring that over. Uh, Now your buyer broker agreement will already have 3%. So you don't have to say what the commission is. You just have to say both buyer and sellers are paying buyer agent commission to Century 21 AllPoints Realty at closing. No, you don't get rid of the C below. And it looks like somebody spelled this wrong. Commission. Okay. Any questions? So how do you feel about telling your buyer they're going to pay you half of 1%
I had two buyers ask me, do I need to pay your commission?
without you telling them?
Yep. Well, aren't you including that in the closing costs? And it just so happened it worked out, that the seller was paying, something appropriate. But yeah, it's weird. But I
It's
think
not weird.
it's
It's normal.
education. Education.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you won't get. It doesn't mean every time every agent gets 3%. Some of the top agents get 3 and 3.5 and say they never go below that, and sometimes they do. So we're going to see that in a minute. So you do what you can do and don't feel bad. Feel good. You got the deal together. Okay. So that is the zip forms and the clauses. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, here is the appraisal writer, which could be a writer. This is the appraisal clause. This is the commission being paid by both parties. So these are the three things we just went over. And this is this is the represented seller commission, and you put it here in number 6. Okay. Any questions? So, isn't this kind of cool? So, if we're done with this, I'm going to show you some real live examples. Okay. We feel comfortable. We have more tools. We can do better contracts. We can just print this out and you can review it. All right. So I went through zip forms. I went through some of our top agents, and I went, and one of them, I'm not telling you which one, is actually a co-broke that I did an example. He's one of the top agents in West Hartford, and he is hysterical. Uh, and one of my agents, he was putting an offer in on her listing. She goes, Jody, look at this contract. I go, this is like a master class in contracts. And she goes, I know. And that's what made me want to do this class. I thought, I have to share this. So let's look at these examples. First one is a Hartford County. I can't tell you uh, what the address is or who the agents are, but I want to just share what they did. So, and I took it right out of zip forms. Hartford County condo. It was on the market for 170. The agent offered 160 and it was cash, no inspection, but they had a house to sell and they did a 30-day close. So they had a house to sell in this market. That's not the end of the world. They didn't do a Hubbard clause per se. They just wrote it in the contract, subject to whatever the address was closing. Okay, so that got accepted. Not bad. Now here's another one. On the market for 205, condo, Hartford County, sold for 205. There was CHFA, 45-day commitment. There was a tenant in there. It said tenant had to vacate prior to closing, seller to pay buyer agency commission of 2.5%, or or purchase price. All inspections, 14 days. So 14 days for inspections is a long time. And an appraisal writer, a 60-day close. And the seller also paid 2,500 towards closing costs and prepaids. Okay, and there was a home inspection. So that's in this market, that got accepted. One of our top buyer agents. So why do you think that got accepted? Like, wouldn't you feel crushed to think, oh, now I have to put all this stuff in the contract that's never going to get accepted? Well, number one, maybe what didn't have multi-offers. I actually looked up each listing though, and they were really good homes. So I would be surprised if it didn't have multi-offers. But this agent had good communication with the other agent. That is a lot of this. A lot of this is when you write the offer that you call the listing agent. Make sense? And a lot of times we are afraid to call the listing agent because why?
I mean, sometimes I think I don't would like to call because they will ask me, of course, the most amount of money possible, and I don't know. That's what I think.
So I'll tell you, once you've been doing this a while, one of the best things is talking to other agents. You learn from them and they learn from you. And you get to know you are selling your contract to them. So part of your due diligence is to make them like you, to go the extra mile, make them laugh. You know, don't during the transaction when things start to go haywire and you represent the buyer or the seller, don't make people feel bad. We do the best we can. Things happen. So you don't want to be accusatory. You knew this is bad. Oh my God. You know, some people, they're just that way, and there's nothing you can do about it and you just have to learn to deal with it. But the best thing to do is start curating your reputation with the other agents because people talk. Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about Mick. He is wonderful. When people say things like that, it makes you feel good. So CHFA, 45-day close, commitment, money back. They got them to accept this. That is because of communication. That's because of a personal relationship. So you want and a good reputation. I'll tell you something. AllPoints, we have a good reputation. The company is very ethical. There's a lot of companies out there that are not. But here we always do the right thing. We always do the right thing. I mean, I have top agents coming into my office all the time. Oh my God, they told me what they got water in the basement right after they bought it, and they haven't had it since, and they don't want to put it in the disclosures. And it's like, sorry, I'm not budging on this. That you have to put it in the disclosure because now it's a known fact. You just put in why, and people don't care. So we always do things the right way, and people know that about us. Okay, next one. 295 sold for 300,000, so 5,000 over asking, conventional, 20% down. It said in the contract, seller to sign offer by 8 p.m. Otherwise, this offer is null and void. Inspections waived, 30-day mortgage, 45-day close. 3.5% commission paid by seller. Not bad. Next one, New Haven County, 399 list price, sold for 426, cash, 30-day close, no inspections, no appraisal, 3%. Next one, 600,000, sold for 635. 20% down, conventional, 50,000 deposit. So I didn't put what the other deposits are, but it's normally like 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 deposit, 3-week mortgage, 30-day close. So mortgage in 21 days, 7 days to close. It closed in 30 days, 20% down, $50,000 deposit. This is what was in there. Appraisal gap up to 30,000, period. Buyer waives the right to terminate unless there is so this is about this is about the home inspection. They did a home inspection. But they said buyer waives the right to terminate unless there is an aggregate of 30,000 worth of repairs needed after inspections. If any serious structural or mechanical issues are found in the home inspection that exceed 30,000 threshold, seller can, at his own discretion, elect to repair or credit for any amount over. If the seller elects to do so, buyer will move forward with purchase.
Was this an older house?
Yeah, it was a West Hartford house. West
Okay.
Hartford houses are all older,
Yeah.
but it wasn't in bad condition.
Yeah.
Don't you love that?
That's great.
And yeah, so it's like that I just love that. And that's why I shared it with you because I honestly think that's wonderful because you are like would they have nothing to worry about. You want to do a home inspection, buyer wants a home inspection. You as the agent always feel horrible when your buyer doesn't do a home inspection. Sometimes they can't. They won't get the deal. Okay, next one. Middlesex County. List price 699.9, sale price 713. Okay. 50,000 deposit, cash 30-day close, home inspection, termite inspection, buyer will waive up to 5,000 total on any home inspection issues. and they put down 5 days for the inspection. So that was pretty good, 2.5%. So these three are all 2.5. Fairfield County. So this is Stamford. 700,000 list, 700,000 close, 70,000 deposit, 3 week commitment, another 7 days to close. So 30-day close. Home inspection, septic inspection, termite well, radon, water. So they got everything going in at asking in Fairfield County, Stamford, and 700,000. This was a decent house too. So not bad. All right. So what do you guys think?
Great information. Thank you.
So listen, the more you write offers, the better you get. And, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you. So next week, I'd sort of like some feedback, what you want to go over based on this week. I can go into zip forms. Zip forms is kind of a rabbit hole if people start asking a lot of questions. Um, but I also want to make sure that we are communicating throughout the transaction with our clients and getting referrals because they want to refer us. So I haven't really decided what we're going to do next week. If there's anything you want to learn, send me an email, okay? But it will be about buyers. And then we're going into April and we are doing geofarms. All right.
Jody, can you please share this session with us?
When I sent you the list, invite, scroll all the way down on your email and you'll see it. It's an attachment. But I did also just share something else. Let me just see if I have it. I can put it in the chat. Let me see. That's not it. I'm gonna put something in the chat. It's all of it is a link to my Dropbox and my Google Drive and stop share chat. My computer. Let's see. Here it is. All right. If you want to download this, it has a link to my Google Drive, and that has all of the things that we've done so far and all the recordings.
It is the same link that you sent the other day with
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Any questions?